Hello, and welcome back to another scintillating episode of Morganza. I'm Dale Morgan, and this is part two of my three-part conversation with Richard Goldman, the Hollywood singer-songwriter behind the seminal 1997 release, Girls and Cows. If you haven't already, be sure to check out part one, where Richard fills us in on how the album came to be. And in this episode, we start walking through the songs on the album, and Richard gives us his commentary on the writing and recording of each of the 15 tracks. We'll get about halfway through the walkthrough in this episode, and be sure to stick around till the end, where we'll feature a new, exclusive, live acoustic performance of a song from the album. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy the show.
So I'm ready now. Here we go.
Let's talk about them.
Okay.
All right. First is Hollywood Marriage.
Stands at her front door. He doesn't look well. She doesn't look all that good herself. She's emotional. He speaks Spanish. They're on their way to a Hollywood marriage.
Well, I realized the other day that I think I was trying to impress. I was 40, and I think I was trying to impress friends who were in their 30s, early 30s, with how cool and they were in television, and I had hoped maybe that I could get something and stuff. So I wrote this really cool song, but it was, I realized, I was trying to impress a girl again in Hollywood Marriage. It wasn't my wife this time, or anybody else. It was for these, a couple who we adored, and they were like 8 years younger than us. And I thought, this song.
Did it work? Did it work?
It sort of did, but by the time they became rich and powerful in Hollywood and stuff, and could have helped my career, we were no longer friends anymore.
Timing's everything, huh?
I know it is.
All right. So, most of these songs were already written. So this one was written some time before the album came out, right?
Yeah, this one got written about 7 years before the album. Yeah, around 1990. Okay. So Hollywood Marriage is so Beatles, and it opens with an homage to Rain. There's a little drum figure at the beginning that is an attempt at the same drum figure in Rain. And there's the same way Lennon strings out the words in Rain. When the rain comes, they run and hide their heads. So Igor stands at her front door. Kind of has got the same sort of, you string it out. It's a kind of almost a druggy kind of feeling. Yeah. And I'm playing a Rickenbacker that Harrison, so it sounds a little like Harrison at times.
And well, I was listening to it today, and I noticed the bass was very active, which is also kind of a Rain
yes
influence.
Yeah, no, the bass. I was the bass player in my bands when I was growing up, so yeah, no, McCartney was quite important. I literally learned every instrument from that man. It's just crazy. I learned to play piano through him. I've learned to play guitar through him, and it's interesting. He was just how talented Paul McCartney is even underrated.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So yes, the bass to that, I could talk about that because that's sometimes all I hear is the bass playing.
Is that right?
I used to be a bass player as a kid, and by the time I was 47, I no longer had any real bass chops on a bass. Basses are bigger. The strings are five times the size. You really have to be you know, a great bass player makes it sound like they're playing a guitar. I sound like I've got this giant boom, boom, and you can really sort of hear it on Hollywood Marriage with a boom boom bum 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 bum. So I'm trying to go fast, and I to me I sound like an old man playing bass on that. But I love the bass part.
Well, you should
the bass part's so much fun to play. I did my best, but
you could have just sped up the tape. That that's also from that era, right?
I know.
They're always playing.
I don't think I had the ability to do that.
Okay, good.
Back then, my friend did. My friend figured out ways. Jim, because he sped up tape for. He has a couple of characters that are on the internet that somehow managed to get from his backyard into the modern day internet, which is with sped up stuff, using that kind of stuff where you can speed the voice up but keep the guitar same speed and this and that.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
So I think I've spoken to Hollywood Marriage. I do love this.
That's good.
I love that song. There, some of the changes in it are great. The bridge is very theatrical, very clean, and everyone was there enjoying bombs to tear. The RSVIPs and Zeppo Kennedys.
The bridge is a rarity for your songs.
I know, and that one was just a joy. I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. All right. Prettiest Girl at the Funeral.
The prettiest girl at the funeral, she even did her roots. The prettiest girl at the funeral in her silver go-go boots.
Prettiest Girl at the Funeral was 20 years old when I pulled that one out from 1977, because I knew I had written a cute, funny song that had the same kind of, lyrics that the head of the label liked. And so I played it for him and he loved it. And then I recorded it and did a really stunning. For me, I think I was more proud of the recording of Prettiest Girl than anything on the record, because I had taken a song that really had never been recorded, was 20 years old, and just filled it up with all kinds of little guitar lines and vocal lines and stuff. And Deborah and I sing really well on it. The recording rises above the song, and I did, that doesn't happen with me too often. I just barely get them down.
So Deborah is
Deborah Holland.
Deborah, tell us about Deborah. Okay, so she's where? I know there's credits on your liner notes somewhere. So
we met in the late 70s. We became, very good friends, and still are. And at that point in time, we were doing a duet in the mid 80s when she got discovered by the people who were once the Police. And when Sting left the Police somewhere like 85, 86, they needed a singer-songwriter. And so they searched for that and found my partner at the time, Deborah, through her songs. And then, through seeing her perform with me. And so we were performing when, Stuart later told her, yeah, we've chosen you. And they chose her for a band called Animal Logic with Stanley Clarke and Stuart from the Police, the drummer. And so that's Deborah. She has gone on to be in other bands since then, the Refugees. You can find her on your Spotify.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
And then who else is on the album? We've got James
My
Dean.
friend Jim plays.
James Dean.
Yes, he whistles, and then he plays harmonica on airport parking lot and whistles on the Goodyears. He's the engineer for much of Girls and Cows. His house was the location for Girls and Cows. He's a good part of it. He was the only person I could really bounce things off of and say, "Is this okay?" And and then I'd do a couple of versions of something and ask him if which one he liked better, and this and that. Carnival Girl had an alternate that we went back and forth on. So he was integral. Jim, he was absolutely integral in making the record, and thanks, Jim.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about Prettiest Girl at the Funeral? I know it's got a backstory, but you don't have to share it if you don't want to.
Well, it strikes me now as just how and why did I do that? I wrote a song about my, an experience I had at my friend's mother's funeral. And basically I sort of Dylan'd, I just like deconstructed, everybody, and then wondered, I can't play this. They'll hear it. They'll be the first ones I would have played it for. And so, I buried the song, and then I figured 20 years down the line, I could get away with. One of them had passed, and it turns out no, I couldn't get away with it. It was still a means.
Any notes on like the instrumentation or anything on that one?
No, the bass is easy on that. I didn't do that. No, I guess I think I spoke to it. There are just so many little guitar licks in it that that impress me now 30 years later, that like my children, who are very musical to say the least, they're going to be hearing this and go, I didn't know Dad played that well.
Surprise.
Yeah, and some of it is George Harrison double tracking that they don't know about, that they've never learned about. If I double track it, it sounds better. It sounds like it sounds more fluid. And so, Harrison, like so many great artists are insecure, and that it's crazy. You wonder how in the hell could somebody that good be that insecure. John Lennon was insecure about his voice. His voice is like the voice of a freaking generation. And the guy who had it was insecure about it, and everything had to be sung twice, and he had to do these perfect doubles for at least the first 2 or 3 years before he finally realized, oh my God, I have the most beautiful voice in the world.
Nice. Okay. Now you got some covers on that one. Is that right or not? Not that one.
Not that
Anybody
one.
cover that one? All right.
Prettiest
Good
Girl?
Years.
No. What was interesting is one of the reviews of Prettiest Girl, I think it's in the stereo review thing where it's then there's something, he's listing the songs he likes in the review, and so someone should cover that. And I was like, I don't really think so. That was like, but no, it just because it's so personal, and
yeah. And the Good Years is next, and that's the one that got some covers, right?
Yes, that is the one that got some covers.
Comfort and bliss and true happiness were strippers I met in a bar. The only good years that we had were the tires on the car.
that's it's a funny country duet, and that got, in fact, written from the title. In other words, the title came first, and the title came first because I was writing a question on one of the game shows I worked on, and it was, are these names of actual country songs, like, and we would list something like, she got the gold mine, I got the shaft. And so that's a yes. That's our actual country hit. And then the only good years we had were the tires on the car. And that was enough. We made that up. And so I spent about a year after getting out of the game show world, dreaming about what that song would sound like and working on it a little bit and trying to set up the title line, and with a long verse and da-da-da. And I think it's some of the melody the inspiration comes from possibly one of my three favorite songs ever. We came along, you came along, walking in a winter wonderland. Da 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 da. So the good years had don't talk to me about the good old days. So it really runs. It's a melody that really runs the gamut of and it's a country duet, and a number of people have three. Number for me is three other people or pair of people, sang that together, and two were recorded somewhere. Harvey Reid and Joyce, which I can't remember her last name, do a wonderful version of it. She plays a fabulous fiddle, and Harvey is a great guitar player, both from Maine, both married to each other. What else? So yeah, that one's gotten covered, and then there are things that I think that I wanted to tell you about, and now I think I know about the baseball thing that I got the other day, but somewhere, so the Good Years had two lives. Girls and Cows was the second life. The first life is that my friend Richard Meyer, who got the Girls and Cows deal, prior to that, Richard recorded this song for Fast Folk, and we did it soon after I wrote it, around 87. And so there is on the internet, you can hear you can find it on Spotify and this and that, the first version of the song.
Wow. So tell us what Fast Folk is.
Fast Folk was basically the name of a folk magazine back east for people who fancied folk music. And at the end of the year, for all the subscribers to the magazine, they would put out a record finding people like Rod McDonald and Jack Handy and Hardy, and stuff, and sometimes me, because I was Richard's friend from high school, and so Richard recorded that in 87. I sang it with Deborah. They had a stand-up bass player who was nearby. He learned it in a minute, and off we went. And I did a thing that got heard by people. That somebody did the cover, basically, because that Fast Folk magazine was played by a radio DJ, and a college radio DJ back east in somewhere in the north, and somehow Kurt Schilling, pitcher for then the Arizona Diamondbacks, one of the best pitchers of his generation. Heard the song, and he didn't contact me or anything, but he quoted me somewhere. And now I think this sort of happened a little on this. So Schilling heard it on from the Girls and Cows, not from the original. But
okay,
it is important to understand that this was the second time I recorded it. I added I changed some words to make the song a little funnier 10 years later when we did the Girls and Cows recording of it. Okay.
Right.
And at any rate, at the beginning of the internet, somehow I contacted Mr. Schilling, who had put something about the thing on the radio. And, he was like this pitcher that I rooted against my whole life, but knew he was as great a competitive pitcher as I had ever seen. And his stuff was always, he never had bad games, I cannot say more for his competitiveness and his greatness on the field, only because I don't like him at all. And I've had back and forths with him, since all of that happened. But Curt Schilling, was a fan and kind of a big fan of that song. That's all.
Interesting.
The good years, yeah. Curt Schilling, and the line, of course, was the line that got changed. The one that he quoted, I think, on somewhere. The girl, comfort and bliss and true happiness were strippers I met in a bar, and so I have Curt Schilling as a fan. At least he was until we started, until our politics got in the way.
Oh, I see. That'll do it. Okay, next is Devil Knows.
Like a flower out of water, I'm a slowly dying rose. That's the side of me the devil knows.
I love that one. And I kept my guitar.
All right.
I'm back. I kept this guitar around. This is the Girls and Cows guitar. And
wow.
And so because I love the Beatles so much, and I had one song that was very much a Lennon, I felt I had to have the McCartney type thing, and really did. This was the other song. So there were two songs that were basically created for this record, and Devil Knows is one. And so the Beatles song that it's acknowledging is The Things We Said Today. You say you'll be mine till the end of time.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then there's my song, Step into the sadness that is deep inside my heart. Welcome to the madness that is tearing me apart. Like a flower out of water, I'm a slowly dying rose. That's the side of me the devil knows. You hear that? The John,
I get it.
And then the
yeah.
Okay. So I didn't steal the song. Just you grasp the essence of the song. I heard Carole King once explained what she did, and so what we used to do was take the songs of the day and turn them inside out. And we just musically use the same sort of structure, the same changes, maybe a different key, but just try to find that space that other song was in and create another song in that. Things like Chains, that she wrote, Chains, my baby, right, were just things that were like, I love the way this chord goes from this other song. What can we do to do that? And that's how they would write. It was, it wasn't, God, what do I have to say today? No, they did very kind of mechanical, job of being able to write, 2 verses, a bridge, and, a couple of choruses, that kind of, that sort of world. And so I think I learned early, I think from the people that I loved, that it was okay to sort of undress songs that you loved and kind of, write something like it. And so I don't think there's anything, melodically similar. It's just in the same key, A minor, and it has the same sort of,
strum,
minor strum feel to it.
Right.
And the same way with, I didn't steal Rain. I just, the how it works and what makes it cool. Yeah, that's what I did.
You referenced it.
Yes. And I think a lot of people do that all the time in music. And
I think so.
And it is, if you're the Elvis Costellos, if you're the artists that have to make more songs each and another record, and that becomes something that you figure out how to do, to work with the things that you know and love. And it's not theft, it's just,
no,
you just use your influences, and
right,
and you're just entertaining yourself. So it's, when you're writing, I think, I think that's true. I'm not sure if every writer feels that way, but I think it's true that I'm entertaining myself all the time. It's me that I'm trying to impress. It took me maybe 50 years, because I kept thinking that here's a song for this girl, here's a song. And they were never songs for the girls, and they were always songs for me. I was the one that would take them home and sing them, and they probably never heard them, or heard them once and went, that was nice. I wasn't writing them for them. I just thought I was writing songs for other people. And I recognize that maybe somewhere in my late 40s and or 50. These are all for me.
Okay, next is Zsa Zsa.
Is she famous for the movies?
I don't think so.
Not Zsa Zsa. Zsa Zsa Gabor. Is she famous for the Broadway stage?
I don't think so.
Not Zsa Zsa. Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Zsa Zsa was for me because I had a run-in with Zsa Zsa working on a game show. And she was just distasteful to everybody, and I figured I could write a distasteful song about Zsa Zsa. And she was just one of those celebrities that everybody hated. And so there you go. I found an outlet for a distasteful song and stuff.
Tell us about the I Don't Think So's.
Well, so the best I Don't Think So happened in Philadelphia, where when I play this song live, I would start off by saying, this one's a little interactive. We're going to work on this together. And when I point to you guys, to the audience, when I point to you guys, you say, I don't think so. And that's all you have to do. So I sing, Zsa Zsa, Zsa Zsa Gabor. Nobody knows what she's famous for. Zsa Zsa, Zsa Zsa Gabor. She used to get married, now she don't anymore. You take away the Zsa Zsa ga, and she's just a bore. Is she famous for Green Acres. And then I point and they go, I don't think
I don't
so.
think so.
So that was always a lot of fun to sing, and no one really sat and thought, "Ooh, that's a mean song." And it was all fun and games until somebody got their eye poked. And what happened, I guess, on that was that I had done it on a radio show where it went very well. I got then invited to do this after show at a bar, and it was sort of a lesbian bar, and there are some fat jokes in the song, and suddenly this song that had killed them, an hour and a half prior, was now just like dying, and and this, what am I doing here? And I got off the stage as fast as I could after Zsa Zsa when I realized this is not your crowd. I don't even want to try to find a song that works with them. They asked me here. I'm here. I'm leaving now, and thanks for being there. But it was an amazing experience of doing well and then not doing well on the same night. Those are the two I don't think so stories. And then the third one is the fact that I had always wanted to sing harmony. There's some great harmony. There's one great harmony part in the song, and all the live performances did not have a harmony on them. It's just me talking to the crowd and doing the song, doing our little interactive thing. So I decided, is it possible to I had tapes of me doing it live and tapes of an audience. So my friend Jim, who engineered Girls and Cows, figured a way to get, the audience reaction from a very good live show that I had done, and take that audience and then throw it onto the Girls and Cows version, so that this sounds like a live there, but in fact is a previous live audience.
Right. Yeah. I think it's kind of a highlight of the album for me. It's fun. I mean, it's fun.
Okay.
we don't need to say anymore.
All right.
Next is Airport Parking Lot.
Now I'm down in Structure 5 and disappointed with the Lord. I'm in the devil's playground and I'm looking for a Ford. As soon as you start thinking that your number is hot, you're looking for your car in an airport parking lot. Looking for your car in an airport parking lot.
To me, this is like a metaphor. So you're looking for, as soon as you're thinking that your number is hot, you're looking for your car in an airport parking lot, which means you're not as hot as you think you are. You're not as smart as you think you are.
Right.
But you actually have an airport parking lot story, right?
Yeah, no, the very night that the song was written, so it was, one of those nights where I was busy, working on a job, chatting with a celebrity, then off to saying goodbye to friends who were moving to Hawaii, and flying out from LAX that night. And so and then, I had a little too much to drink to celebrate, and literally could not remember where I parked my car, because I had come from a totally different place, a direction from LA to get to LAX than I normally come. So I kind of sat down to try to retell, the night and how I behaved badly, just so I could make something good out of this horrible night that I had made my wife live through, and any number of other people, I guess, afterwards, who were trying to help us find our car to get out of there. We had the police at the airport police driving us through every single lot, every single level of every single lot. And on a night that was just like a fabulous, night. And
Yeah.
I started off as a very cool time in my life. And then, so it was, the song itself speaks for itself the rest of the way.
We get to the cow song. No cows allowed.
Born in a cow town and I had a beef. So I asked the cow town doctor for some relief. He said, boy, you better take it slow. If you don't like the cows, you better go. So I packed my things and joined the Greyhound crowd and headed for a place where there are no cows allowed.
Cow song was just one of those. My wife is from up northern part of the state in California, in San Francisco, and we would, we were getting married and stuff, we'd make a number of trips up and back, and then when we had kids, we would make numbers of trips back and forth from LA to San Francisco, and halfway on the 5 to San Francisco are a bunch of cow farms and slaughterhouses and things like that. But it's very woofy, okay? And you can turn that, you can be going through in midsummer with the temperatures are over 100 and have the windows up and your air conditioning on, but you cannot escape the woofiness of Coalinga and Harris Ranch area of California. And so I just wanted to have a song that the family could sing as we drove through.
So the protagonist was born in a cow town, and he had a beef. So he develops this aversion to cows, basically, and kind of spends the
Cowtown
rest of his
doctor
life.
told him to stay away from cows. Basically, that was like,
Right. That was the prescription. Right.
Get the hell out of town, go somewhere else.
If you don't like the cows, you'd better go.
Yeah.
Right. And so he tries mining, and along comes a heifer, and out comes a moo, and he's got to get moving on again.
No safety underground.
He gets to heaven, and all the cows have wings, so he has to keep moving. Sad. It's a sad song.
And keep moving.
Moving. Good.
Yes.
So it's one of the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, the song is laden with cow puns.
Well, I was going to say there's another cow song, "Cows with Guns." Have you ever heard that?
No.
Oh, by Dana Lyons. It's lots of cow puns. If you can find that one sometime.
Okey-doke.
So it's one of the best cow songs I know.
All right. What's the first name again?
Dana, D-A-N-A, Lyons, L-Y-O-N-S.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. No cows allowed. Simple Days.
Right behind her there's a driver flipping her the bird and cursing his brains out. Wonder why he's so upset, cursing at girls he's never met. Those were the simple days. Bring back the simple days. Those vastly different days. Bring back the simple days.
The Simple Days, a very pop song, very LA driving song. And the bass is if you listen to that one again, you'll hear the same. Yeah, no, that's a really good bass part. Sounds like he's struggling with it a little bit. I was. So, but other than that, I think it's just a wonderful. Simple Days is a very wonderful little pop song and very fun to sing.
We'll conclude our walkthrough of the tracks on Girls and Cows in our next episode. But for now, as promised, here's Richard Goldman with an all-new exclusive live performance of Wings.
Hi. 1, 2, 1, 2. I thought that I would miss you more and everything would change. I thought living here without you would be just a little strange. But the only thing that hurts is how much rent I have to pay. Things don't really change that much when one girl goes away. I still got the same old neighbors, I still got the same TV. The old woman who used to hate us, well, now she just hates me. The cat that used to come around still comes around each day. Things don't really change that much when one girl goes away. But if you got wings, you better use them. If you got wings, you better fly. I couldn't wait to see you, now I can't wait to say goodbye. If you got wings, if you got wings, if you got wings. Well, I made a few mistakes, you pointed out most everyone. But seeing you turned out to be like the dumbest thing I've done. 'Cause when I think of how I used to feel and how I feel today, things don't really change that much when one girl goes away. But if you got wings, you better use them. If you got wings, you better fly. I couldn't wait to see you, now I can't wait to say goodbye. If you got wings, if you got wings, if you got wings.
That's all for this time. Be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons and join us for the third part of our conversation with Richard Goldman coming soon. And we'd love it if you'd leave us a comment to let us know what you think. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Morganza.